Hey everybody, Craig Cottle, Director of Nature Reliance School. Wanted to do a review of the Backwoods Survival Guide, which has been put together by Editor-in-Chief, Jim Cobb, my good friend. Jim's a good guy. I quite frankly think this is the best magazine that I've seen that Jim has put together. It's fantastic. Let's take a look. Backwoods Survival Guide, just bear with me. It's going to be worth it because I want to point out a lot of articles. Each one of these fatwood pieces are things that I want to point out in the magazine. First off, the first article here is by Jim Cobb himself. It's about practice makes perfect, which is all about how to go about practicing skills and learning from your practice. Different skills that you need to be aware of that most people bypass, that Jim, and quite frankly, I would agree wholeheartedly on everything that he's put together here on things that you should consider when you are practicing skills. Next article I want to point out is by yours truly. This is one of 3 that I've written for this magazine. This is one I've been wanting to write for a long time, mainly because I get all kinds of tracks sent to me and say, hey Craig, what's this track or what have you. The biggest problem that comes up from this is a lot of people send me tracks of a feline thinking it's some sort of mountain lion, and it's actually a canine. And so what I wanted to do was show the differences of different canine and feline tracks, the characteristics, the number of toes, the toe location, the outside shape, and all the things that go along with animal tracking that a lot of people just need to understand. Is very beneficial. So this is a good article. I think it's important so that you don't think you're running around being chased by a mountain lion. The next article I wanted to point out is by Dana Benner. Forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong, Dana, but check out that LT Wright blade right there on the front. This is choosing the right tool. Man, this is a really good article. It talks about basically fixed blade knives. It's got an ulu in it. I love ulus, by the way. These are fantastic tools. If you've never had one, you need to get one. It talks about drawl knives. It talks about Swiss Army knives, how to keep all your sharp tools sharp, and the things that go along with that, how to do woodworking. Just all around, just a fantastic article. Next article is by Joshua Rains, and Joshua's put an article together about the topic of using staffs and trekking poles and even just a homemade walking stick when you're out in the outdoors for stability. There's a lot of research that goes into proving that basically trekking poles are good for balance. They're good for maintaining your energy and not wasting too much energy. And so those are really important. It's a really good article. I really liked it. So next article I want to point out is article 2 of 3 for me, Hiding in Plain Sight. It's another article that a lot of people really enjoy hearing about, camouflage. And what I did is I took a picture of myself in basically a store-bought ghillie suit standing right out in the middle, and then I wore the same suit and stepped into the woods, not behind a tree, but just in some vegetation, and talk about why understanding this is important. How you can fool the human eye, how you can fool deer, how you can fool squirrels, baseline versus disturbance, which is a very important concept when it comes to tracking, lighting, shape, think in 3 dimensions, and I actually go into some urban camouflage things as well. Next one, 3 of 3 from me, is Staying Found. This is all about GPS apps and land navigation, particularly some of the extra things you want to have, what kind of extra batteries are good, anchors, and dark energy is what I carry. Talk about radio use and how to communicate GPS coordinates to others. Tracy Trimble makes a hidden stance in this article. This is Tracy's hand. This was taken for, Jennifer took this photo for the book that is also mentioned in here, Essential Wilderness Navigation, that Tracy and I wrote. And all sorts of altimeters and two-way radios and outdoor adventure, and how to use all that for making sure you never get lost. Next article I want to point out is by Jim Cobb, probably, in my opinion, the most important article in this magazine, even over and above the ones that I wrote. Jim does a fantastic job in talking about how to take care of your feet. And if you're not taking care of your feet, you're not going to be able to be mobile. You're going to have to sit still, or you're going to have a lot of pain. How to drain blisters, how to take care of moisture, what kind of socks to choose, and all the things that go along with that. It is a fantastic article. Next, they have new products, Tiny Survival Guide, that I had a huge role in putting out. Made it to this, so I really appreciate it making there. Another thing I want to point out is Jason Hunt from Campcraft Outdoors. He already pointed this out in his review, but I want to make sure I bring attention to it as well. His knife here that is forged by Brad Holman from Rocky Woodland Forge. as well as another one right here, the Colonel. So these are fantastic knives that you can buy at Campcraft Outdoors. Brad is one of the nicest, well-qualified hand forgers of blades in this part of the world, and he's just a great guy. So anything I can do to bring attention to Brad's knives, as well as what Jason's doing at Campcraft, is good stuff. So there you go. Next article is by Jason Hunt himself. What I wanted to point out is several things. Jason talks about how to stretch your budget and get exactly what you need instead of all the stuff that you want and probably don't need. He does a really good job of doing that. He talks about different things like the wax canvas stuff that they offer at Campcraft, and the different blades and how you can get economical, how to carry a lighter instead of some craziness that you don't really need to carry. This is just a fantastic article. Also, it goes into how to utilize a blanket, and these Hudson Bay blankets, point blankets is sometimes what they're called as well, because these marks on here represent how valuable they were. But there's a whole lot to that. I'll get into that in another day. But the thing that Jason does is he obviously covers this very, very well in this article. But here's the other thing I want to point out that is outside the realm of the good content that Jason puts out, is his son is the model for this particular article. And I am a huge fan of bringing attention to people that get their kids involved in the outdoors. If you run an outdoor school, sometimes kids don't have a choice, really, and I get that. But at this point, I've met Jason's son. He's a very, very nice individual, very nice young man. And it's really good to see him in this article, and Jason, him getting out and doing stuff together like this. So I really like to bring attention to that. And for you writers out there, do what you can to get your family involved. And it's important. Next thing I wanted to point out is in the back, there are Survival Bookshelf by the BSG staff. Lots of different books here by yours truly, as well as friends of mine. You've got my book, you've got Alton's book, Joe Alton and Nurse Amy's book. Rory Miller, this book right here, Violence, A Writer's Guide, this is something that needs to be, a lot more attention is brought to it, because people need to understand the pieces and parts of violence and how to handle yourself so you don't get stressed out. Jim Cobb's book, Prepper's Long-Term Survival Guide, Kevin's book. These are just fantastic opportunities for you to learn and gather information so that you can then make it your own. Again, I really do believe that this is the best magazine that I've seen Jim Cobb put out in a long time. He puts out a good magazine every time, but this is just over the top. So pick it up. It's going to be available nearly everywhere in about a month. So there you go.